Hi, we're back with another edition of The Journey with Joe, and I want to give a super quick shout out to our sponsor, Docent Breweries down in South Orange County. Go check them out. They've got some cool brews down there, some stuff that they only do, so you should check them out. Good food too. Today, I am super stoked. I'm excited to have Krys Benyamein here in person, as opposed to seeing just like the top half of you or doing some crazy stuff online. I'm super grateful for your time, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long time overdue, it feels like.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Absolutely. And you definitely, you do a lot of super cool things online, right? I say you do the fun stuff that I am not any good at. I actually really suck at fun stuff, right? Like it's just not my thing. And I'm outgoing. I'm a high I personality, but not my thing. So we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff, get to know you a little bit better as opposed to just the fun stuff. And talk a little bit about life. But as I'm doing some research and learning about you, I saw the ESQ and I'm like, maybe he was a model? No, nope, not a model, but you were a lawyer.
Yes.
What kind of law? Were you like Jacob, call Jacob, but that was call Krys?
It's called, what is that, personal defense?
Something like that. Injury.
No,
car hits you.
I might have if I stayed in it longer.
Yeah.
I was, so before getting into real estate, I was an attorney by trade. I still have my law license.
Okay.
I still keep it active, pay my dues. I was a criminal defense attorney, so I was actually a public defender. A public defender works for the county.
Okay.
Represents like indigents, people that can't hire their own counsel. And it was a lot of fun. Represented all different kinds of people. Small stuff like DUIs and domestic batteries to murders and sex assaults.
Dang.
It was quite a chapter.
Did you go to law school here in Southern Cal?
No. So, growing up in Southern Cal, grew up in Anaheim Hills, Yorba Linda.
Okay.
And by the time it was time to go to college, I didn't apply anywhere local. I just wanted to go as far as I could.
Really?
I just thought it was time to spread my wings.
See the world.
Yeah. So I did my undergrad in D.C. I went to American U in D.C. and then I got a scholarship to go to UNLV, so Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So I was in UNLV for law school, and I stayed in Nevada after that to keep practicing. So moved up to Reno. Yep, exactly.
I saw that. And that's where you met your wife up there?
Yeah. So when I was at the public defender's office, good research. Yeah. Good job, Joaquin.
Did some recon.
So my wife was graduating medical school at UNR Medical School, and I loved the public defender's office. I was living in Lake Tahoe. I was climbing.
Beautiful.
It really doesn't get much better.
Dude, so nice.
I had just gotten a raise, and life was becoming pretty stable. And when I met her and I kind of knew this was going to be it, I just sort of thought to myself, if you don't start making these changes, you're never going to leave. They pay you more. They put the handcuffs on you. You vest because it's with the county.
Got the security.
Exactly. So I quit the job. I rented the house. I moved back to Southern California. I put the law license on hold, and I got into the business full time.
Wow, that's insanity. That's insanity. I think that's huge. So I think that's super interesting, right? Because there's so many entrepreneurs and people out there who don't bet on themselves. Right. And so what I've learned in doing this is the great people bet on themselves. So it's a lot of risk because you have that security. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who will take that county job to their grave.
Right.
Because it's safe.
Right.
Right. And when you take that leap of faith, right, what is that like? Like, how's that mindset change, or how does that change when you're talking to your family? Well, I know your family's always been in real estate, so they welcomed you. So it's a little bit different than people thinking this guy's totally nuts. They're like, come to the dark side.
Totally
come to the dark side.
So you bring up a good point. I think for anybody that believes there is safety and security in a county job is mistaken. And I think anybody that has the belief that their corporate position is, safe is mistaken. And I think COVID highlighted that. I think these most recent huge layoffs by the tech companies that nobody expected to start letting people go is evidence of that. I think there's an illusion of safety.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're all dispensable. And I think until you are responsible for you, we're all at risk.
Yeah.
We're all at risk. So I want to say it was easier than some might think, because I think I knew that, or at least I felt that.
Yeah.
And I was raised by entrepreneurial parents. So I came into the business following in their footsteps, and they'd always been self-employed. They'd always been in sales. So I think even if I would have stayed practicing law, it would have been a matter of time before I would have left and gone on my own.
You open up your own practice.
Exactly.
Are both of your parents in real estate?
Yeah. So believe it or not, Nishat, he has been the broker of our office for the past 30-something years. And then my mom, Nahid, bigwig in the industry in sales the last 35 years.
Yeah.
Also own an escrow company, but focus on sales. And funny enough, before I went to law school, this has got to be 2015, I remember my dad saying to me, Krys, do you want to join the business with us? I was like, I'm not sure, but I didn't know anything about the business. And I was kicking around the idea, and I mentioned it to my mom, and my mom completely loses it.
Really?
Absolutely not. You're going to law school, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was hot fire in the house.
Really?
I think it was because, it's the immigrant mentality. They come over here, they sacrifice everything, and I think to just jump into real estate would have been a disappointment for her.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I grew up very privileged. I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, never had to work for anything, never struggled because of my parents' sacrifices.
Yeah.
So there was a big motivation for me to go as far as I could and really start cutting my teeth. And that was 100% a factor why I went to Nevada, why I went to Reno. Mom and dad don't have connections. They got nobody to call. This is all on you, Krys.
Yeah.
And I think personally, I had to do that before coming back into the industry, because even now, I'm selling houses, I'm doing things, even the personality that I've created for myself on the internet, I'm still Nahid's kid when we go to these events.
Really?
Like, you're still Nishat's son when you go to these events.
Oh, that's so crazy.
It's okay. It's flattering.
So is that why you went away to school? Right? You were like,
why.
I'm going away. I'm going to be me.
Exactly.
Right. I'm not going to be in the shadows.
I had to. Not to say that the shadows of my parents would be
not
a bad
bad.
thing.
I mean, dude, they created an amazing shadow.
Right.
Like, that's a great place to be, and a lot of people would be blessed just to be in that situation.
Absolutely.
Right. But you want that out.
Right. And,
That's cool.
I really believe that people should take advantage of the opportunities they have for them.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, you hear, I'm trying to think of somebody, for example, like Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage changes his last name from Coppola so he can kind of cut his own path, right? Pave his own path. And I'm sure he called upon favors or, leaned on those connections. I don't think there's anything wrong with leaning on the resources you have.
Yeah.
But I think from a mindset perspective, it's important to know that you can hunt on your own.
Correct. And you want to do it on your own. And that's something, because a lot of people don't feel that way.
Right.
There's a certain group of people who are like, yeah, I'm cool just living off of mommy and daddy's coattails.
Right.
But you went and not only did your own with law school, right? Now you're like building your own on the real estate side.
Trying.
Which is cool, right? Like, it's cool to develop your own game, right? Or your own personality or your own business. And I think that's super, super valuable lesson for people out there who may have friends and family and people that they can lean on, but it's okay to be yourself.
100%.
Right? Because takes a big step.
100%.
For people to do. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, it's a privilege. So I guess I could say this. If my family was selling ice, I would probably be an excellent ice salesman. Yeah. And if we were in the car business, we'd be selling cars. I love real estate. I'm very grateful that real estate is the industry we're in, provides a wonderful lifestyle. I love being able to serve people. But I'm in this to an extent because of my family.
Yeah.
And I just don't think one of the big motivations in coming back, and something that I think is important for the audience to understand, is take advantage of opportunities that you have. Mm-hmm. So if I have the opportunity to have a mentor who's one of the top salespeople, am I going to turn my back to it?
No way.
So what if it's your mom?
It just happens to be your mom. Yeah,
exactly.
Just so happens. But how many other people would give, their right arm to have access to her and her knowledge and her work ethic and all the stuff that she built and has done?
Right.
She can sell her time to you for quite a bit of money.
Right. It took me 20-something years to figure that out.
Isn't that wild?
It's those kind of concepts I think are tough for young people.
For sure.
You know, they just see it as mom or dad.
Yeah.
I'm sure I saw your daughter's going to U of A.
U of A, yeah.
Huge.
Yep.
I doubt she recognizes who her dad is when like you guys are at the kitchen table.
No, not at all. She thinks I'm a jerk. She's 18. I'm pretty much a jerk about everything I say. I can't do anything right now. But again, talking about privilege, right? Like she has opportunities that I never had.
Of course.
Right. With the way I grew up and stuff like that. So it's a huge blessing. Now, I don't ever think my kids would get into sales. Like, I don't know. You never know, right? Like she wants to go to be a pediatric nurse, right? Like that's her goal. But again, you never know how things will turn out, right? My little one, I think, is more of a salesman. She's a hustler.
It's in them.
She's 12. Yeah, she's 12. And she just is like, all right, like, how can I make a bunch of money?
Right.
Right. Where my older daughter's like, I want to help people.
I love it. But you do, and she gets that from dad. One thing that I'm realizing that kids get from parents, or at least my sister and I, and despite my sister being very different from me, you get the work ethic.
1,000%.
You know, I was such a snot when I was a child because my parents were very absent. God bless them, you know, and if my mom listens to this, she knows it. There's no secret here, but mom and dad were very absent because of what this business
expects of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a result, they were able to provide, but they sacrificed a lot in the form of their time. And I remember growing up thinking like, I would much rather have you guys than this, you know, stuff you're buying me. But it really wasn't until I think like after law school and I'm putting in these hours just wanting to do the work that I'm like, where did I get this from?
Well, you probably got it in law school, right? Where you realized, holy cow, you know, because it takes a lot. But I think that's the immigrant mentality.
I agree.
Right? I think they come here with nothing, right? They came from Egypt.
Right.
Right? They come with nothing. They realize that they have to earn it all.
Exactly.
And then there's a little bit of like, they don't want to lose it. So they keep going at it.
100%.
Like my grandparents were like that. And it was just, that's how they came over with nothing and they just want to build.
Right.
A lot of it is because they want you to have it better than they did.
That's right. And I think especially it's immigrant mentality, but it's also these people that are all about being the best. Because when you look at like the Ryan Serhants or the Josh Altmans of LA or, you know, even the Naheeds, what I recognize, and I have a feeling it's even like the Joe Sotos, people are working like they're about to go broke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm when I'm in the office and I'm listening to Naheed on the phone, I'm just like, this woman is talking like this is her only escrow.
Yeah.
She's got 15 deals, right? But she's talking to this one like
they're the baby.
Exactly. Like if this goes like south, we're not eating dinner.
We're not paying the mortgage.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think that kind of laser
hunger.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is like killer mentality. Right. Relentless. I love the word relentless, right? Like that's just that relentless attitude of like, I'm going to get it done, but then also do it in a way, right? Like she's got a very charming personality.
Right.
I've seen her stuff, right? Like
very different than me.
Right. And, but at the same time, it's that hunger.
Amen.
You know, and you can't, I don't think you can teach that. Can you?
I don't know.
I think a lot of people are built with it. I think you get put in a situation where it comes out.
Right.
And all of a sudden, whether it's through mentorship or survival, right? Because sometimes it's just survival.
That's true.
Right? Where you're like, hey, if I need to close more deals, so I'm going to cold call. I'm going to get on Vulcan. I'm going to, make dials.
Right.
Just to get those escrows. But then you also get to a point where you have so many, you're just like, does it matter if I keep going?
Right.
Right. But she keeps going.
Because it's not the money.
It's not the money.
It's the deal. It's the work. It's the pursuit. It's the service. It's the why.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is these people with massive whys are never focused on the money.
Never.
You can't be because, well, you just get it and you wake up and the next day your life is exactly the same.
Yeah. The money doesn't bring happiness, right? Like I used to always chase numbers.
Right.
I was a numbers chaser because I was always so broke and I was like, I need to get to, 20 million and 50 million and 100 million and then 200 million. And then as you start to hit these different numbers, you realize I'm still the same damn regular Joe.
Right.
Right? Like it's cool. I mean, I guess I could provide a little bit better, but it's not that. You realize that you do it more for the people.
Right.
Right? You do it for the people you're helping, and then you do it for the team and the people that you have on your team, and then that becomes your purpose. And that totally, like that changed for me, I don't know, probably like 4 years ago, where I was like, I'm just doing it for the people around me. right? Like, let's see how good we can make it for them. And it inherently becomes better for me.
Right. I love that.
But if you're doing it, if that's your intention, if your intention is just to make a bunch of money, you're probably going to fail.
That's right.
Right. But when you have your passion towards the people or the process or the end result, like that's where I think you see the growth and the success.
Right.
You know, because you take the prize. I feel like the prize in the beginning is to make money.
Right.
But the longer you do it, you realize the prize is definitely something bigger.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. There's so many, it really resonates with me.
Yeah.
It really resonates with me.
So you've been in the business, you've been licensed. When did you get so law school leaves?
Law school leaves.
And you come down here, you just jump into sales?
Yeah. So I think during law school, so this is 2012, 2013, I took all the real estate classes.
Yeah.
It was in a summer. I just sat through the internet classes and I just kind of put it on ice.
Yeah.
And then I came back, I took the test, and that was it, October 2018. And then it was just no looking back for the most part.
Really?
Yeah. And it was,
Do you miss the law?
Yes.
Really?
What
about it?
I miss the performance.
Yeah, I was going to say, like being in the courtroom or winning that battle.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's cool.
I love the service, right? So we're solving people's problems in a different way in real estate. You know, they have a goal to get into a home or they have a goal to sell a home, and we're solving that problem. We're providing that service. In criminal defense, you're protecting their freedom, right? So the stakes are a little bit higher, just a little. But nonetheless, you're serving them. So if I would have stayed in law, I would have definitely continued to be in a trial capacity, right? Because I loved being in a courtroom. I loved standing in front of a judge. Oh, it's just, there is nothing more exhilarating.
Wow.
I mean, talk about a rush. Being in front of a jury is
got to be insane.
An insane feeling.
Wow.
So I miss that component. I like thinking on my feet. I liked being in a courtroom. I don't know if I entirely miss some of the stress that came with it. You know, when transactions are going sideways, it definitely is stressful, but it's very different than somebody who's been ripped away from their family that you don't think should have been, or somebody that's doing more time than you think is appropriate. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff used to very much weigh on me. I'm kind of an emotional guy, as tough as I might come across with my flower shirt on.
Yeah, that's serious flowers. It's funny because I always tell my girls in the office, we ain't saving babies.
Right.
And they're like, I'm like, dude, it's just a transaction, right? Like, at the end of the day, no child, nobody's going to die.
Right.
As long as everybody communicates well and we all will fight, we'll get it done. 99% of the issues end up in a closing.
Right.
Right. It's a small percentage where it's like, hey, this isn't going to work. But I think so often when we're in it, it's so emotional in this business in real estate that it feels as though you're on trial.
Right.
For your life. And if you fail, it's death sentence.
I think your experience is what, I think at least young people or new people to the industry don't recognize the patience that needs to come with when things go sideways. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. A text comes in, something very negative. Let's just say somebody wants to cancel or somebody has some sort of issue. I think the instinct for most is like, I got to resolve this right now. Let me respond to this immediately. Mm-hmm. When what I've learned by other people that are doing very well, stop, assess what's happening, maybe give it a minute, and then next thing you know, another text comes in 20 minutes later. It's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Or, let's couch that real quick.
Yep.
And it's in line with the we're not saving babies idea. No. Is like, take a breath, think of the big picture. We're not saving babies.
No, come up with a solution, right? I think we're in the solution business. People come to us to get a solution, whether it's how can I sell my home? How can I buy my home? How could I fix my credit? How can I, whatever. We're in the solution business. And sometimes you're right. You just got to take a step back and go, all right, let me assess the situation. That's why so many people who are in the military are great in our business.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because they assess.
Right.
They get the information, they go, they process it. They're like, all right, here's the plan.
Right.
Versus most people are just so emotional, like, oh my God, it's going to cancel. What am I going to do? Like, you go into the gap, right? You always go into the negative of what that means, for sure.
That's a mindset thing. And I think that's why you find the most successful salespeople have ironclad minds. Mm-hmm. They can bounce back from bad news very quickly.
Yeah.
And they don't get sucked into the negative.
For sure. That's a black hole in a black room.
Yes, exactly.
This is the black hole right
That's
in here.
right. That's
This is where you go with your negative thoughts. For those of you who can't see us, we are in the darkest room in America, or at least in Norwalk.
But you would never guess.
You'd never guess. No. No, I mean, I think that's really important. It's so much that we fight. And any business owner, any person out there, salesperson, if they're a new real estate agent, or if there's somebody who's just getting in the business, I think keeping your mind right is so important, right? And don't get too high and don't get too low. It's easy to be a Richter scale,
right,
of emotion, right? And you just have to be, much calmer in regards to that. And so I think you learn that over time.
Exactly.
Lots of bad transactions make you immune to when stuff goes wrong. Because shit happens.
It's true.
All the time.
And even the good ones, I think, I don't want to, it sounds negative, but you really can't focus it on it that way. It's like you can never get, I think it was Bruce Lee that said this. It's like,
Still like water.
Still like water. But he said something along the lines, it's like, I never get too happy at the best of times. I never get too sad at the worst of times, because none of it is forever. Everything is fleeting. And I really thought that was powerful. And that's why, I love sales, because it's feast or famine. The proof is in the pudding. Like, there's no participation awards in sales, right? Like you're either doing it or not. And I really believe that you're only as good as your last sale. Right? So who gives a shit if you were number one in 2022?
Nobody.
Where are you second quarter of Q2? Like, where are you second quarter of 2023?
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to hang on like what I did before, and it's just a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for just stagnation.
That's how you get complacent.
Right.
Right. You're like, hey, look at me.
Right.
I got an award recently for last year's production, and I didn't even mention it to anybody. And my girls on my team are like, hey, were you going to post that? I'm like, nope. They're like, really? I'm like, it doesn't matter.
We're 5 months in to the new year, ladies.
I'm like, it doesn't matter, girls. They're like, but you've posted it every other year. I go, it doesn't matter this year.
Right.
They're like, okay, you're just on a mission now. I'm like, that's right.
I love it.
I really don't look back very often.
Yeah.
Last year was a crazy year, right? Interest rates up and down, and people were so affected. And I was just head down and hunt.
Right.
That's my attitude. I focus on what I can control.
Exactly.
And that's it. I prospect, I work my database, I call realtors. That's about it. And so I looked up in November, and I was like, man, there's been some banks shut down. And one of the girls on my team's like, yeah, like a whole bunch. And I'm like, who knew? We're just crushing loans. She's like, yeah, the rest of the world is like in a world of hurt. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just keep going. And it literally, like, the rates went to 7%. And I was just like, hey, it's a great time. Like, you can't control what the hell the market's going to do, right?
100%.
You either qualify or you don't.
Right.
You buy or you don't, right? You sell or you don't. And I think there's too many people who just let all the outside noise just stop them. It becomes an excuse. And I just hate that. Like, it's not my MO. Like, dude, stop making excuses.
100% accountability.
100%.
If shit goes sideways, it was your fault.
100%.
If shit goes right, it was your fault.
Yes.
Extreme accountability.
Yeah.
And I think that is the recipe. I mean, it's tough because it's a lot on your shoulders, but I think that is like how you move forward. That's how you grow. That's how you become successful. I was on the phone with a young agent the other day on a role play. I won't name names, but I'm on this role play, and we were talking about the leads that we're calling. He's like, they're just no good. I'm calling this, that, and God bless him. I just said, no disrespect. It's never the leads. Mm-hmm. It's always the agent. It's you.
Every time.
Every single time. And the quicker you recognize that it's not the person on the other line of the phone, it's you.
Yep.
The sooner that you're going to figure out a way to connect with these people.
Yep. 100%. And it's so funny because I think what you said was really accurate. But a lot of people, they will take responsibility when it's good.
Right.
Right? Like, so if the leads are converting, he's like, I'm the best salesperson. But they're not, so it must be the leads.
Right.
Right? As opposed to saying, how can I work on my scripts? How can I role play? How can I change my dialogue? How can I listen? We were talking about listening, right?
It's huge.
What are the people saying to me so that I know the objection?
Right.
And I think a lot of business owners and people out there in whether it's real estate or title or escrow or anything, I think it's that accountability. Like I have a coach that I work with, and I've worked with the coach for 7 years, and it's, the accountability is what you pay for.
Right.
But so many business owners don't take accountable for the shit.
Right.
And that's the part. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
That's exactly what it is. To tell you the truth, Joe, I believe that what's really wrong with the world or social media or anybody that's like winning and is on the chase, what's wrong is all the positive affirmation they get. Because all of this, like, you're so good, you're so good, you're so good, is what they want to listen to, but they don't want to listen to, like, when you screwed it up. Yeah. And I really think, like, all the comments, like, oh, your content's so good, or like, oh, you climb Mount Everest, like, how did you do that? Oh, you're selling these houses. It's like, you have to tune out all of that shit, because as soon as you think you've got it going, is as soon as the universe is about to cut you down a size. Quick.
All of a sudden, it's like, whoosh, right? Sweep the leg, and you're down on your butt.
That's exactly right.
100%, right? 1,000, like, and it's true because it happens so quick.
Right.
I think the world we live in, I heard somebody say something about like all the positive stuff they see on social, right? Like it's positive, it's yeah. And nobody ever posts the junk, right? And some of it is in the industry we're in. We don't want to feed. I don't like to be negative, right? So I don't post negative stuff unless I'm clowning on my kids or making a joke on them. But I just don't like to. But I do think you're right. I think people are getting so much of the rah and like, oh, yeah, look at you. It's like, dude, it's a lot of hard work, right? Like, so for you as an example, people think that you just miraculously became this great person on video and made all of this cool, fun content. Right. Like it was just like I left law school and then I became just a massive influencer. Like I'm just doing cool shit. Right. They didn't like, I'm guessing, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but even still today, or let's go back to the beginning.
Sure.
Right. Go back to the beginning. When you first started doing stuff, it was, you had a lot of self-doubt.
Oh, 100%.
Right. Like, so how was it like in the beginning? You're like, I got to put myself out there, but what the hell do I do? And are people going to love my voice?
Right. You just start doing it, and you said something in the beginning of this. You were like, I think I'm funny, but I don't make funny content. Or I think, I'm a high I, but I don't make this stuff. And what I would challenge you to say is, have you tried?
No. Just because I can't lip sync. I can't.
You don't see me doing that.
No, never.
But
I have lots of really good ideas. Have I told you my Ghostbusters idea? No. So we're going to do a video. And now that I'm saying this here, I'm going to have to do it
manifesting
before this actually comes out. But we're going to do a video where I dress up like one of the Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And we're going to play the Ghostbusters song. Right?
All right.
If you need a loan and you don't know what to do, who are you going to call? Joe Soto.
All right. I love it.
That's going to be the extent but that idea has been in my head for 3 years.
Why don't we do it?
Because I suck, and I just feel like it's, I don't know. It's in my head for 3 years. That one, and I have another one. I have two really good ideas. I just haven't thrown it out there.
So like and this is so funny talking to somebody who's like doing such huge things, but like, this better than most. The ideas don't mean anything. It's the execution.
Totally.
So how quick can we...
I say that to everybody, and I'm usually a really good executor, right?
But you're human, and that's the same thing. It's like when you say like, where did the content begin? The content began with me feeling the only thing I was comfortable with was delivering information, and that's definitely from my legal background.
That was the Keeping Current Matters.
That was way back in the day.
I told you. I did some digging, man.
That's all I did. I used to hold up a chart.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, circa 2018, I'm at a Tom Ferry conference with my mom, brings me into the business and immediately takes me to these conferences. And I don't have people calling me. I don't have people like hitting me up to say, help me buy a house. And Tom says, you need to either make videos or like die on the vine, right? So this is
was that like in 2015?
He's been preaching it probably since 2012, but 2018 is when I heard it. That's when the first conference that I went to of his. And I just said, if there's anything that I can control, it's making these videos. I can contribute this one thing to the team. Yeah. So every week I would hold up a chart. I would make sure to understand it, and I would just talk and I would point at that.
I saw this.
And that's all I did.
Yeah.
That's all I did until I felt confident doing that. And as soon as I felt the confidence to do that consistently and wanted to add more, I started trying different things. And my biggest not criticism, but my biggest piece of advice for people that are like, I don't know what to do or I don't know what works, you have to find your voice. And how do you find your voice if you don't sing?
Try lots of things.
You got to try lots of things. And we all suck when we get started. So the sooner that you can get the suck out of the way, the sooner you can start making better content.
Yeah.
Like, we're all going to suck. And your first funny video is not going to be as good as your 100th funny video.
So true.
So just do it and get to the result faster.
Yeah.
You know, like, prospecting is the biggest thing that comes out. It's like, I suck on the phone. Well, talk on the phone more.
Yeah. The more you deal with the rebuttals, the more you deal with the objections.
Right.
The smoother it comes off as far as you just saying, well, I know exactly how you feel.
That's
In
right.
fact, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Like, everyone's like, you know, you have so much experience. And then people are always going to point to old heads like you, like my mom. You have so much experience. My rebuttal
Did you just call me an old head?
I meant it with love.
Dude.
I meant it, honestly, I want to be an old head.
All right, go ahead.
You've earned it.
So like for anybody who's listening, and hopefully his mom listens here, but Mom, he just said old head like my mom. It basically made me the same age as your mom.
But my mom is definitely older than you.
I hope so.
My mom is. I didn't mean it like that.
No, go ahead. All right, finish with the old head, Joe.
How many years you been in the business?
20 years.
That's where I was going with
I know, I'm busting your chops, dude. I'm busting your chops.
How do we catch up to the Joe Sotos with 20 years of experience?
By giving information. I don't know.
By doing more work than Joe Soto in my current place. So like, you have 20 years of experience to rely on. I don't.
Yeah.
So if you can convert at a much higher like rate than me, I probably need to talk to way more people. So I'm not going to make the excuse that Joe Soto is a better closer. Joe Soto is a better closer because I'm trying to work the same amount of hours as Joe Soto. But if I want to do as much business as Joe and I don't have the experience that Joe has, I better be working twice as much, 3 times as much, because I'm not Joe Soto and I haven't been in it 20 years.
I love that. That's fire. That's super duty. I mean, it's true. Facts are facts, right? That's great. So we're going to take a quick break on that because that was awesome. And we're going to shout out our sponsor and then keep it up. If you're looking for a really cool brewery with an awesome feel and vibe and great food, check out Docent Brewery in San Juan Capistrano. They focus on great craftsmanship, community, and independence, bringing you all different styles and different beers for you to try. Check them out, Docent Breweries, San Juan Cap. Now back to the show. All right, we are back here, and we're going to pick up right where we left off. I thought that was super duper awesome, right? Just talking about all the hard work you have to do, right? I think in any industry, whether you're selling cars or selling insurance or selling widgets, right? You right now in this market, as we're doing this in 2023, it takes more activity, more phone calls, more face-to-faces to do less business, right? 2 years of COVID, we all got fat and happy, right? It was easy.
Exactly.
But now, what are you seeing out there from yourself, like your team, and like as far as the activity and stuff like that? Like, what kind of lessons have you learned just in these last 12 months of shit, this is hard?
Right.
Right. And like, we got to lace them up every day.
Right. So one lesson that I've learned that I wish I would have learned earlier, but I'm a product of getting into the business at a unique time. So 2018 wasn't COVID. And despite, I think interest rates peaked at one point at like 5%.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, exactly. But transactions were still happening fairly quickly back then.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I've learned is the conversation you have today is for the transaction next quarter, or it's for the transaction 6 months down the road or 1 year down the road. So the follow-up is more important than ever before, because I'm just as guilty as many others. When the market was super hot, I didn't have to follow up with people, because if you weren't ready to go, I had 6 other people ready to go.
For sure.
And I was on to the next. And now the biggest emphasis is, how do I cultivate and maintain these relationships? Because they're going to be ready in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And the Joe Sotos, you guys have known that.
Yeah.
You've known that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think young agents have really understood that. So that's probably one big thing, is the conversations now aren't focused on closing them that day. No. You know, focus on closing them in 12 months. Focus on this long-term relationship.
Yeah.
That's one. The other thing is it's like a misconception, and I knew this, but I think agents are now starting to really acknowledge it, is the content is not what is selling all the houses.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge misconception that we make videos and suddenly the phone is ringing off the hook.
That's not how it happens.
Unfortunately,
I'm being sarcastic.
no, for real though, because people will call me and I'm always picking up the phone and I'm always sharing the same information. They're like, I have this idea here. I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And I'm like, well, are you on the phone? Yeah. Well, are you doing open houses? Are you door knocking? No, but I'm working on this idea. And I said, listen, do not get it mistaken. The videos are wonderful to start building trust. So when I have an appointment with somebody, they know who I am. Mm-hmm. They know what I sound like. They know kind of what's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But the conversation, just don't get it mistaken. You have to be, are we hunters or are we fishermen? And God bless the fishermen, but I really believe the content and all of that is kind of casting a line, waiting for something to get picked up, as opposed to being on the phones, being on the pavement, being in the open house. I'm there hunting for business.
Yes.
And when you can put them together,
yeah,
is when you have a recipe for success.
Yep. That, amen to that, right? Because I am a big believer. I just was speaking at an office and I told them, I'm like, look, this social media stuff takes up 5% of my time.
Right.
Right. The other 95%, I'm hunting.
Right.
I'm making calls. I'm seeing realtors. Right. I'm calling my database. Right. I'm sending videos to my database, or I'm calling them, or I'm doing client events.
Right.
Most of my time is still geared towards what gives me the greatest result.
Right.
Right. Because I think, again, you do have to have it and it does help, but I don't think it's just like, hey, let me do something and the phone rings. Somebody says, hey, let me sell my $5 million house because I saw something you did. I mean, it could happen, but you're right. I like the fishing analogy because you're just casting all those lines.
I don't mean to take it away. And I think what we're doing on social media shows that we care a lot about it.
Yeah.
It's clear that we're investing not just time, but money into these things. So I really know that it works. And I'm not saying that the business does not come as a result of it, but you are misled to think that the top salespeople are not talking to people beyond making videos.
1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. And so you've been doing videos for a long time. Like those Keeping Current Matters?
Keeping Current Matters.
Those Keeping Current Matters. I mean, that was like, I don't even think it was like a 4K printer. I mean, they were like, dude, those videos were so good, by the way. You so for anybody out there who thinks that it's always been this professional quality stuff, right? I mean, I saw one, you literally had it rolled up like a paper towel roll, right? And you were like, so today, and it was like scrunched and you held it. And you talked about it, and you were like, so da 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 da. You're like confident. I mean, you knew what you were talking about, but there was no, people see your stuff and they think it's always been this production, this cool, this crisp, this
Nah.
It's just, you took the first step.
You have to.
Right. And you just said, all right, this is what I'm comfortable with. I'm just going to do this. And then it's morphed over time.
Exactly.
How nervous were you when you first did that first Keeping Current Matters?
Oh gosh.
I even think I saw one and you were at at a Tom Ferry event or something. It might have been, you were in there. I think there was a bunch of people walking by. It was pretty crazy.
There probably was. So my first video I ever did was in an aisle of Target, and my sister filmed it for me. So I think very early on, I was recognizing that I was competing against girls in bikinis, guys with 12 packs, supercars, all of this stuff on the internet that we want to be consuming. And from the beginning, it was like, how do I compete with this stuff? And whether I knew it or subconsciously, I was thinking, how do I compete with this stuff? So I would always try to do, even back then, something that was a little bit more engaging. So that very first video, I'm pushing a shopping cart in Target, talking to a chart, a Keeping Current Matters chart. And that's really where it all began.
Really?
But yeah, I was terrified. And I mean, I said this to you when we weren't when we weren't recording. To this day, I listen to the stuff I create or watch the stuff I create twice at best.
Mm-hmm.
Once to proof it and make corrections.
Yeah.
Second, when I'm posting it.
Gotcha.
And when I'm posting it, the volume's turned down low.
Low.
Because you become critical of yourself.
Totally. Yeah, well, because all you see is the blemishes, right? You see the imperfection. You're like, I wanted to do it this way, and I didn't.
Exactly.
But nobody on the other side of that knows.
Exactly. Nobody's watching it as closely as we think they are.
No.
In fact, where people are watching our content is on the toilet. Where people are watching our content is when they are in between appointments walking to their car.
Yep.
When they are just looking to be entertained, when they are not really focused on anything. So I really feel like my secret skill, or what I've leaned into the most, is not allowing what I want to look like and what I want to sound like dictate the content that I'm putting out there. Mm-hmm. And I think in a hyper masculine industry, although it's dominated by a lot of women, but in an industry where we are so focused on the way we look, the clothes we're wearing, the car we're driving, our public perception, that's going to kill your ability to give the consumer what they're looking for.
Which is information.
Yes.
So since you brought up what you wear, can we talk about the socks?
You like these?
These socks are fresh.
You like these?
I respect a good sock game.
Thanks, man.
And it's kind of cool, right? Because when I first saw your stuff, it's like you are who you are.
Right.
And I think so many of us, we do stuff and we're scared to be ourselves.
Right.
Right? Like the world is ugly out there. People will talk shit on you
100%
easily. And so what advice would you give to somebody who's scared to be themselves?
My advice for anybody that is scared to be themselves is recognize that people are talking shit whether you are doing something right or something wrong. So if you think staying in your lane is preventing the haters from hating, you fucked up because they're hating. Either way. So rather than just get consumed with sort of being what you think they want, be what you want, let the haters hate, and let the followers or let the loyal disciples come to you, because it's happening one way or another.
Yeah.
It's happening one way or another, and you are mistaken to think that like your vanilla approach is making everybody happy.
Yeah. And then you attract the people who you like.
Exactly.
Right? Like I think you get to a point in life and in business where you want to, I always say I want to surround myself with like-minded people.
Right.
I want to surround myself with people who want to work hard, have a good time, do business the right way, right? And so I think the more you're you, right? Like I post a lot in my stories. I think a lot of my posts, my content is structured.
Right.
But in my stories, I just am who I am.
And as you should be. And that's what creates success. Seth Godin, a master marketer, written a ton of books, says that your vibe attracts your tribe.
So good.
And I think that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
100%. 100%. So back in this real estate, this market's been fun.
Yep.
Right? 2023. One day we'll look back on this and be like, remember when? What advice do you give to agents in this market? Right? I mean, you've given some really good stuff, but as we look into the rest of this year, what's one or two things that as an agent, if you really want to be successful, what one or two things should you focus on?
I think for agents that really want to be successful in the market we're in today is to first ask yourself, how long do you intend on being in this business? And if the answer is going to be 5 years plus, then to recognize nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to do the work for you. And to stop looking for the answers that you already have and to start doing the work. Nothing we've said today, despite me feeling like I am God's gift to earth, is so profound.
No.
Because it really boils down to make your phone calls, to knock on the doors, to call your sphere, to publish the video.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that creates success is not sexy. That's the funniest thing when it comes to like hyper successful individuals. The work it takes to get to those results is incredibly lonely. And it's so funny because, you know, everybody wants the accolades and everybody wants the top producer award, or everybody wants to be making the viral content, but nobody wants to do what it takes to get there, right? Because it's isolating to be on the phone for 5 hours a day because you're not talking to anybody else, right? Yeah. You're talking to people on the phone. So you're not having fun with your team, you know?
And most of the people you talk to don't want to talk to you.
Exactly.
Right? So you're spending 5 hours of your day and 4 hours and 20 minutes of that is people telling you to kick rocks.
Exactly.
Like that's just this, you know, I did that for a long time. I did call center.
Right.
For years.
It's just part of it, right? Or everyone wants, I don't know, everybody just wants the Tesla and they don't see what you're doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And if they did, they wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't mean this to be disparaging. I just really mean this to be transparent. Anything that you don't have is likely a result of what you're not willing to do to get it.
Yes, so true. It's so true. I mean, you got to be willing to win. And there's a good book. It's called Win in the Dark. One of my favorite books that I've read, and it's a little parable about a basketball player, and he wins a state championship. Let's just say, but it's about all of the work he did in the empty gymnasium.
Exactly.
Right, and that's it. Like you just have to do all that work in the empty gym. You have to do all that work on the phone. You have to be willing to sacrifice. Like what you said about it being lonely. Like, dude, a lot of my career has been lonely. Right, my oldest daughter, she's going to U of A, and
bear down.
There's so much time, things that I missed because it was like, God bless my wife. She raised a lot. Like what your parents, what you said you went with your parents. Like that was me with my kids, and it's a lot of that work. You got to be willing to win in the dark. You got to be willing to do this stuff. I was talking to one of my coaching buddies this morning. He called me early this morning, and then he goes, I'm doing a walk. Let me FaceTime you. And he FaceTimed me. It was 6:30. He FaceTimes me. He's like, look, I'm at this lake where we're doing my walk down in San Diego. He goes, are you in the office? I go, yep. He goes, it's 6:30. I go, yep. He goes, what the hell are you doing in the office? I said, I got a busy day today. Like I got appointments. I'm going to be out of the office. I got to get my day ready.
Right.
Otherwise I'm off the rails. He's like, all right, bro, I'm going to let you go because apparently I'm a slacker. And he hung up and he was like, dude, Soto's a beast. Like 6:30 on a Monday morning. He already woke up, worked out, like did his stuff.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, yeah, dude, because that's what it takes in this market.
Exactly. And like, when you were saying, you asked me something as like what people, like the advice people need to be able to get up and do these things. You want to become undeniable. That's the thing. Like when the haters start hating and whatever, it's like, I don't care because my work speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like my character speaks for itself. Like
totally.
And I think that's hard when you're young and you really haven't done enough to feel that sort of confidence. And I'm a human, so I can definitely get cut down to size. But when I start feeling these negative feelings, I really do try to remind myself, like, you've earned a lot of these things. Like, you've worked hard for these things. And I'm undeniable. Like, I want to be. That's really like my goal. And that's why I hate certain things I've accomplished. Because if I were to look like as certain things as the pinnacle of my life, it would be very sad to say, like, that's what I amounted to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you always have to be chasing.
For sure.
Because, I don't know, it's just so sad. You want your life to amount to more than just an award.
For sure.
A
Nobody
success.
cares. When you go, there's a little poem called The Dash. And it talks about when you die, right? It's on your tombstone, it's the year you were born.
Right.
And the day you died.
Right.
But what does that dash mean?
Everything in between did not matter.
Nobody cares, right? That you were the DAOR or you got this Scotsman Guide award. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
So let's talk about something that we do care about.
Tell me.
Little Hendrix.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about Hendrix because you're embarking on a whole new journey, buddy.
Oof.
Like what are your first thoughts? Like that first, changes your life, right? Like, is there anything better? Is there anything better than a long day of real estate bullshit than coming home and seeing that kid?
I always thought that when I heard people say that kind of stuff, they were so soft.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, these fucking nerds.
Yeah.
Squishy ass feelings about their kids.
About their kid. Your kid's ugly.
And 100%, your perception of what's important
changes
radically.
Yeah.
Radically changes. And your idea of what needs to be done right now versus what can wait changes radically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so grateful more than anything that he's healthy, that he's growing. We were in the NICU for about 8 days.
Saw that.
God bless these people who have kids in the NICU for months on end. I can't even imagine what that like oh my gosh, it's just like, what's that?
That feeling.
No, what is it when Groundhog's Day? It's like Groundhog's Day in the hospital. You know what I mean? It's just like every day feels exactly the same, and it's just miserable. So I pray for those kind of families, for families going through that. But I'm so relieved. It's a lot of fun. It's a buttload of work.
It's a boatload of work. Sleep, no sleep. Inexistent. You walk in, right, and your wife hands you the baby, and but is there like when he falls asleep on top of you?
Oh my gosh, it gets no better.
Right? It's like, he's crying. He's up all night, 3 times a night. You're like, I hate my life.
Right.
This is terrible. And then he just cuddles, and pretty soon he's going to start smiling.
I can't wait.
You've never been so happy to have somebody spit up on you. You're like, oh, he spit up on me, this little shit. But
I don't know if you can see it in the video, but as I got ready this morning, I realized that I had spit up on my shirt, and I was like, damn, I got to record this podcast.
Yeah. You're like, oh, what? Nobody cares though,
Nobody cares.
Yeah, that it really is the best. And I'll tell you that every little age is great. Right. All these little things, enjoy all these little moments, take lots of pictures, like soak it up, because I'm telling you, you blink and your kid's going to college, right? And they just grow so fast, so you definitely have to enjoy all of this time. But it's cliche, it's cheesy, it's dumb, but it really, it just changes your perception of life and what's important.
Right.
Right. And then your focus just becomes this other little human.
Right.
Right. Which is super crazy.
The positive thing that I would say about kids is let me ask you this. Have you found that when you have a lot on your plate, you manage to get everything done pretty well?
Yeah.
And then vice versa, when you have nothing on your plate, the few things you were supposed to accomplish,
nothing gets done.
Somehow you've missed deadlines.
Yes.
When you had all the time in the world.
For sure.
I think kids have been sort of that example to me now. When I was training for like other things that I'd done in the past, I felt like I had so much on my plate, but I managed to get everything done really well. And then as soon as I had more time, then I start missing deadlines. Mm-hmm. Then things can get pushed. And having a kid now has been the best example of having to
your time management
is having to manage your time more appropriately. And
because every minute you spend doing nothing is time you're taking away from him.
Exactly.
And so you realize, like, it's, again, you margin your time, like what's important. So if you say yes to one thing, you say no to something else.
Right.
And I'm not like, you don't want to say no to that time. You're like, I got to get all this done. I'm going to do it.
Right.
It's super important.
So that's one thing that I've learned is, it's just making me manage my time better. And I love that I did not think existed before this.
Yeah, for sure. Can I give a quick little shout out to your wife? What's her name?
Paige. What's up, Paige?
So shout out to Paige, because your son is how many weeks old?
7.
7 weeks, and you fools are like at the gym. Like, mom is a badass. We got to shout out Paige, because she's like crushing gym workouts.
100%.
Like, dude, that's the greatest.
Paige is a beast. I mean,
she is a beast.
If anybody wants,
I don't know her, but shout out to Paige.
Yeah, well, you will now. If anybody wants the keys to success, who are you surrounding yourself with? And if you're not at the age to have a partner, that's fine. Who are your friends? And if you don't have friends, who are your parents? And if they're not providing it for you, you need to go elsewhere, because the people that you are spending the most time with exert a tremendous amount of influence on you.
Yep.
Good and bad. And I thought I was doing a lot until I met Paige. A lot.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I just thought that I was hot shit. And then I meet somebody who's doing way more than me.
Yeah.
Way more than me. Way more fit than me. Surgeon, plastic surgeon, doing backflips, collegiate athlete, super sweet, faithful, when I say faithful, I mean religious, all of these things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are you doing, Krys?
Get your act together, bro.
Exactly.
Dude, that's so cool. Yeah, I had to shout it out because I saw it and I was like, man, that's super cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
So she is a big motivation to get me back in the gym, because I lost my way, but
yeah,
I'm getting
she's gonna make you bring sexy back.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I know. I love. She can get in after pushing out a baby.
I know.
Carry dude. There's no excuses. No excuses. And the baby's got the little headphone thing going.
We're trying.
Yeah,
I'm trying to take care of him.
That's good. That's good, man. So before we wrap up, I always like to go over just 5-year vision. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What does that kind of look like? Obviously, crazy to say it, right? But Hendrix will be in kindergarten, right? 5 years from now, as far as your business,
Yeah.
Where do you think you see the business? You see it growing. I know. Do you want to do stuff in other areas?
Yeah.
Other counties? Kind of. You know, what is the thought process there?
I have Joaquin back here looking at me like, you better make sure your future looks right, boy. I think a couple things. So for the business specifically, I do intend to still be my hand in sales. Whether I'm client facing, I don't know if I'll still be client facing in 5 years, but I do intend on still running a team of buyers and sellers agents to keep that business going, because I love it and I love that service, and I think it's valuable, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Mm-hmm. At the same time, my heart and my energy and my passion is really turned into a lot of this like content creation, and a lot of the speaking I found enjoyment out of, and I find a lot of fulfillment.
That's cool.
So I would hope that in 5 years that I'm getting to do more public speaking, that I'm getting to do more interviews just like this. I really enjoy this. And I really hope to continue climbing. I have my eyes set on some pretty big mountains in the future.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, metaphorically.
Bigger than Everest? Or no,
maybe not
nothing
bigger,
but some cool stuff.
But some cool stuff.
Like what?
I really want to climb a mountain called Nanda Parbat.
Okay.
It's one of the 14. It's like one of the big 14. So that's on the list. And then I'd also like to climb a mountain called Ama Dablam. It's much smaller, but another one in Nepal. I just love to climb.
Really?
Yeah, I just love to climb. So I intend to keep doing that. And I hope that I'm just in even deeper happiness. You know, like I really hope that I'm more confident.
Yeah.
That I'm just more secure. I'm just trying to age like fine wine.
That's it, man. That's it. You know,
I'm trying to be Joe Soto.
Hey, age is nothing but a number.
Amen.
Right? Like you're only as old as you feel. I feel like I'm 20 something. Right? Like I'm mid 40s and I'm like, I'm still a kid. I'm still loving life, right? I still do stupid stuff. I'm still having a lot of fun out there. I think that's what life is about, right? It's so short. You're gone tomorrow. So having a lot of fun along the way. But hey, man, I appreciate it. This was super, super grateful for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully the audience gets some good stuff out of here, and you're just full of knowledge, man. I could have talked to you for a long time about all this fun stuff, probably gone deeper on the social stuff.
Let's do it again.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man.
Cool.